Galing ako ng probinsya sa Bacolod. Kahit nasabihin natin di maganda yung misis ko, at least sa paningin ko, okay, maganda sa paningin ko, kaya okay. Panganay ko si Jeep, JC Junior yon. Pangalawa, Jessica. Pangatlo, Jenilyn. Pang-apat, JB. Panglima, Jetro. Panganim, Jason. Pangpito, Giselle. Ako, kapos sa pinag-aralan, gusto ko yung mga anak ko makapag-aral. Kasi nakita ko sa mga pinag-aralan na umaasinso ang buhay dahil nakakakuha ng trabaho maganda. Unang-una, kaya napunta kami sa lugar na yun, ang lupa, ang alam ko sa government, so wala kaming iintindi na babayarin. Hindi ko kaya magbuo ng bahay na higit sa kakayahan ko kasi nag-aaral yung mga anak ko eh. Pagkain lang, pamasahe namin sa araw-araw. So yung bahay namin, pakunti-kunti ko nagagawa. Nung una, nagumuho na yan, yung bahay ko naguhuan, pero lupa lang, kaunti lang, nag-crack lang simento ko. Pero ganun pa man din, napansin ng media, may mga pumupunta na mga taga-UP dyan, mga geologist, na tiningnan. At sinabi na yung lugar na yan, danger zone. Nung sinabing danger zone, binaliwala namin kasi lilipat kami sa Montalban, napakalayo naman. Yung mga anak ko dyan lang sa paligid nag-aaral, nagtatrabaho ko sa Ortegas. Sa Montalban ako uwi, yung kikitain ko, pamasahe ko lang, di pagod pa ako. Pagkagising ko, bumili ako ng kape at saka nung spaghetti doon sa malapit lang sa amin. Para pagising ng anak ko na babae na pangatlo si Jenilyn, kakain na yan, tas maliligo. Kasi mauna ako sa kanya umalis. Ilang makalis ako 6:30, siya 8 yung pasok niya. 7:30 din siya umalis. So, nasa jeep na ako, nung kumpare ko na driver din siya. Tumawag sa akin, ang sabi, pre, bumalik ka, may nangyari. Bumalik ka agad. So, ang ginawa ko, bumaba ako ng jeep. Sumakay ako ng cab pabalik sa amin. Parang may kaba ako sa dibdib. Nung paglapit ko sa bahay namin, marami ng tao sa paligid. At may nagsabi, Jis, naguhuan yung bahay nyo. Nandyan yung pamilya mo sa ibaba. At sumigaw ako na, may buhay pa ba sa inyo dyan? Ang sagot ng jeep, nandito ko naipit, dahan-dahan. Dahan-dahan kasi ginagalaw ng mga tao yung lugar eh. So tumulong ako doon, tinulak ko hanggat nagkasugat-sugat yung mga paa ko, mga kamay ko. Una, kung nakuha yung panganay ko, yung pangalawa si Jetro na anak ko na nakausli yung paa, may simento na katabon, maitim na ang dulo ng paa niya. Sabi ko, Diyos ko po, wala na, ano na to. So, kinakalkal pa rin namin kahit gano'n na mangyari. Wala nang buhay.
Ano ninyo?
Bakit bahay ko yun? Kadikit mo ng bahay namin.
Tapos, yun na, kalkal kami ng kalkal. Sige ng kalkal, hanggat umabot ng hapon na nakuha silang lahat doon kasama yung mga kids. Inasikaso ko muna itong anak ko, kailangan makasurvive. Makasurvive kasi ilan na lang kami natitira. Si Jeep, nag-aaral ng second year engineering. Sa December, magiging 25 na siya. Siguro, paminsan-minsan sasagi sa isip ko na parang di ko matanggap kasi sariwang-sariwa nakikita ko kung anong nangyari doon sa mga hinuhugot, mga hinukay na nangyari sa bahay namin. Sariwa pa sa isipan ko kaya ayaw ko muna makita yung lugar muna namin. Siguro ang pinagsisisihan ko dyan na hindi ko sila nabigyan ng shelter na maayos, na safety sila. Pero nakita naman nila siguro na ang kakayahan ko ay limitado lamang. Kung ako lamang may kakayanan siguro, sino bang padre de pamilya na makita yung mga pamilya na titira ka sa squatter kung kaya mo lang naman. Kung maaari, bigyan mo na magandang shelter pamilya mo, di ba? Kaya lang, limitado lang talagang kakayahan ko hanggang doon lang.
That was a documentary that was shot right after the monsoon in 2012. It was shot after a landslide that happened in Fairview. 9 people died during that monsoon. 8 of them were part of his family.
You make the segues just so difficult here. You go from such a tragedy to I kind of don't know what
That's
to do.
why I'm the straight one between the two
Wow.
of us.
Welcome back, everybody. Are you guys full? Yes. We all know what happens after you eat, right? You tend to nod off. There's a no sleeping policy in this summit. If you are caught sleeping, and I do not condone violence, you will be shot on sight. So please, do not sleep.
We take it very seriously in Rappler. Thank you.
Yes.
We'd like to show you a map right behind us. It should be showing now.
Russ? Ooh, there it is.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
Pretty
There's
good.
that voice.
Hey, I'll be a bit peppier now that we've eaten. I was a little sleepy before. Okay, so we're going to come back and look at the Twitter map again. I hope everybody was having fun tweeting during the sessions. They were fantastic and interesting, lots of sound bites. Let me get out of the way. So what I want to do now is actually zoom in, and maybe we can find some people in the audience. What you see here is, again, the same thing. Each dot represents somebody here or outside who's now interested tweeting with the hashtag 2030now. So let's zoom in on some of these dots. The larger ones are more influential. We've used a sophisticated measure of influence, I guess you would call it. It's got a fancy name called eigenvector centrality. But really what it means is, it's not what you know, but who you know. It's kind of a mathematical summary of that philosophy. So let's zoom in here at one of the larger ones. I have a guess who this is. Oh, look, it's Maria Reza. I didn't even fake that. This is true almost every time. Okay, now I'm going to go to one that I haven't gone to before to make it interesting. There we go. Secretary Serang. Anybody recognize any of their names on there?
Raise your hand if you see your name. You win.
I see some stuff we'll have to blur out on the broadcast. Okay. And then there's another community right here. Let's go check them out. Who could this be? Does anyone see themselves on the map right now? I heard a yes. Yeah, I think Chai's in here, right? And Zach, the head of Move PH. So what we're looking at here is who is coming out as influential as the conversation moves on. Again, the colors code community. Right now we look like one big community, which is really great about you guys. Nobody here is too much of a power broker. There's a lot of equality, which tells me that there's actually a conversation going on. People are talking to the people they're interested in talking to, not just tweeting at or retweeting Maria Reza or Rappler.com, which is good. That means we're inspiring a conversation, so I'm happy to see this map. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Guys, remember, if you want to be seen on the map, I mean, it feels good. It's like an ego boost, I think. Go ahead and use the hashtag 2030now. And then Russell will come on later on and he'll give you one more brief on where you land on the map. Yes.
Beautifully done. All right. To go into our panel discussion, we'd like to introduce the head of the investigative arm of Rappler Newsbreak. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please, for Ms. Chai Hofilenia.
Thank you, Pat. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chai, and I am here to moderate the panel on disaster response and preparedness. We will be having 6 people on the panel. I will introduce them. We are pressed for time, so this will be a really snappy discussion. I will introduce each one of them, and I will ask them to take a seat in front. And there will be questions that will be posed to them. And if there is time, then we will open the floor for very brief questions. I hope you are all sufficiently caffeinated. All right, let's start. I'd like to call first Lieutenant Colonel Edwin Sadang. He is the OIC of the Operations Division and is a senior military assistant to the Civil Defense Administrator. He is a supervisor of the Communications, Electronics, and Information System Division and is a licensed professional electronics engineer of the Office of Civil Defense. That's OCD. That's Colonel Sadang. Next, I would like to call Professor Mahar Lagmay. He is a disaster scientist, so he studies disasters. He is also a UP professor and is the driver of Project NOAA. I'm sure you've heard about Project NOAA. Mahar? Third on our panel is Dipayan Bhattacharya. He is the OIC, or Officer in Charge of World Food Program. Dipayan? And fourth on our panel is Mr. Celso Caballero. He is the General Manager of Weather Philippines Foundation of Aboitiz. Celso? Fifth on the panel is Mr. Bong Esguerra. He is the OIC of Globe's Corporate Social Responsibility. He is also a certified sustainability reporting specialist with 7 years extensive experience in social development and CSR. As you will notice, this is a very male-dominated panel, so we have to have a woman. So the lone female member of the panel is Attorney Jane Paredes. She is the Senior Manager of the Public Affairs of Smart Communications. Let me just review what we did this morning so we appreciate the flow or what our panelists will be discussing this afternoon. We saw the big picture. Maria and Mr. Tanaka spoke about social media and technology potentials in helping solve big problems. And then Secretary Sering and Senator Ligarda spoke to us about the extent of the problem, giving us in very broad strokes what exactly climate change has done and what is being done in terms of law and policies. And then in our third session, we had an idea of solutions that are being presented via technology. And I think the last session was really exciting because we saw we saw the term digital humanitarians, and we saw that technology can really be harnessed to address disaster management. So for this afternoon session, we will be concretizing this further. So we have invited these gentlemen and this lady to share with us what exactly their respective organizations have been doing. So I'd like to start off with Colonel Sadang.
Hello. May I request that ladies first? Ma'am, kayo po muna.
Jane, would you want to?
Thank you. Indeed, an officer and a gentleman. Good afternoon. Thank you. We all know, based on statistics and United Nations studies, that mobile telephony has become very pervasive. We don't need to look far. In the Philippines now, we have double the numbers for mobile subscriptions versus fixed line users. In fact, there are more mobile subscriptions than people. Because of this, governments and humanitarian organizations have seized on this to utilize technology in disaster preparedness as well as in response. We at SMART, our mandate in SMART during times of disasters is to see to it and to always ensure that we are always ready in terms of our network and in terms of our manpower in order to address the essential services of customers as well as to support humanitarian work. And in order to deliver that mandate, we have to ensure always that we are ready in terms of our infrastructure and our people. Now, in terms of our engagements now, we have developed in partnership with Project NOAA, the mobile application for Project NOAA. And then we have developed also for the province of Albay, which is one of the most disaster-prone provinces, but which is also the most ready LGU in terms of response. We have developed for them in coordination also with a Cebuano group, an application called Tudlo, where it's really all about crowdsourcing and crisis mapping. And it helps the residents of Albay identify potential disaster areas and how they can respond properly should it become a full-blown disaster. Aside from that, there are reports also of traffic incidents, etc. So it's not just limited to the big one, but day-to-day disturbances in their daily life. Now, we saw the resiliency of the network and our human preparedness during the Ginsaugon landslide in southern Leyte in the year 2006. 3G technology was very new then, but we were able, with the help of our engineers, to install a 3G network which was utilized by the national government to assist it in its relief operations as well as in search and rescue and all other related activities. Now, in Pablo, which was one of the biggest disasters to hit us, we were able to put up an instant network with the help, of course, of Telecom Sans Frontiers, that's an international NGO, and the Vodafone Foundation. And this was where there was a marriage of satellite and GSM. So because the networks were down, or our cell sites were also affected by the typhoon, there had to be a way to be able to connect the relief workers who were on the ground, not only to their families, but to their mother offices, as well as to the government. So in Baganga, for example, they were able to set up within 24 hours an instant network using satellite IP and GSM. Now, why did we do that? Because if you do satellite alone, it's so expensive. So they had to go through the GSM network of SMART in order to free the users from the cost of satellite transmission. And we were able to provide access for the relief workers, the UN agencies, the government, as well as to the residents of Baganga. who wanted to inform their relatives elsewhere the status of their condition. Now, these are some of the things that technology has done in response to disasters. However, there is a need also to recognize that even if we are advanced here in the urban areas, the 3G applications, the smartphone apps may not work in the remotest of areas because they still make use of 2G or legacy phones. So there is a suggestion that maybe we should marry the old and the new. And we'll talk about that later.
Okay, thank you. I'll jump to Edwin and then maybe to Globe because related to smart telcos, you know. Yes.
Una po sa lahat, maraming salamat sa pag-imbita sa amin. In behalf of the Undersecretary Eduardo D. Del Rosario, papasalamat po kami sa Rappler sa pagbibigay ng pagkakataon para malaman ng ating mga kababayan kung ano yung ginagawa ng OCD right now. For the information of everybody, I will be focusing more on the preparedness and response activity that we are doing. For your information, sir, ma'am, OCD is basically the center of gravity in terms of the disaster risk reduction and management operations in the country. It is chaired by the Honorable Secretary Gasmin. And right now, we just completed a workshop sa Baras, Tanay, Rizal in partnership with JICA. We are crafting the National Disaster Response Plan, wherein all the cluster members ng gobyerno ay kasama po namin sa ganitong activity. And hopefully this National Disaster Response Plan will be completed by October, and we will be asking for the approval of the Council. So ano po yung laman ng this response plan na yun? It is basically the roles and responsibilities ng mga bawat response organization para po kapag may dumating na sakuna, ay alam po namin yung immediate, kumbaga sa ano po, we have the checklist at automatic na po ang lahat ng galaw. Secondly, going to the technology in partnership with, of course, Rappler, we are on some efforts in doing the memorandum of understanding. In fact, Voltaire went there yesterday and nag-usap kami tungkol dun sa mga dapat ipasok and idagdag dun sa proposed MOU with Rappler. This is actually in line with the project of the OCD. We call it ICT Bayanihan. One of the output of that is yung National Public Warning System, wherein we will be using the different platform in communications, like television, radio, AM, FM, cell phone platform in partnership with the telcos, and of course, in social media. So right now, yun nga pong pagpunta ni Mr. Voltaire kahapon ay napakagandang simula para masunod na po namin yung social media na component ng National Public Warning System. In fact, maliban po dyan, we are now on the process of finalizing the Memorandum of Understanding and the MOA with SMART and SUN for our National Text Blast System, wherein itong text blast system is basically from the national down the line up to barangay level. These are all for disaster managers. 3 to 5 days prior dumating yung isang sakuna in cooperation also with the council members, the warning agencies. Mapapadala na po namin to text blast sa lahat ng disaster managers and officers nationwide. By October 3, hopefully we will be on the signing mode also with Sun and Smart. Meron lang pong konting testing na ginagawa kami. We call it the National Cell Broadcast System. That is intended naman sa ating lahat, for the public, wherein it is a location-sensitive platform wherein kung saan po magla-landfall o saan magkakaroon ng sakuna sa pakikipagtulungan ng ibang departamento ng gobyerno like DOST, ay ipapadala po sa inyo yung emergency message specific. For example, isang barangay sa Samar, doon lang po sa barangay na yun padadala yung message na yun. So yung message na yun is composed of 160 characters maximum at may templates na po kaming ginagawa. And hopefully matapos na yun. Matapos na po yun by October. Ang inihiling po namin sa ating mga kababayan is to bear with us because rest assured na we are doing our best in cooperation with the other government agencies and also sa mga public partners namin, especially sa mga international partners na tumutulong sa amin.
Okay.
Para po sa atin lahat yan. Thank you
Sige.
po.
Marami pong salamat. Next, I'm sure there will be questions about OCD, pero sana there will be time for that later on. So I'd like to request the panelists to keep your presentations brief. We move on to the next. I'll jump to Bong Esguerra of Globe.
Probably the most important thing that we can do as a network is to keep it going, no, in times of disaster. So we practice actually the highest standards of business continuity in Globe, enterprise-wide. That's one. And secondly is that we've had a very successful network transformation that made it more resilient, and we actually felt it during Maring and Habagat. We were operational for 24 hours, 7 days a week, no? As usual, business as usual po para sa amin, which enables us to actually deliver our services. So first and foremost is information dissemination. We also have SMS advisories to our various partners. Second is that we utilize our social media channels, and of course, our traditional media channels or outfits. Secondly, we follow a set of protocols once an area declares a state of calamity, and that's we provide services from libreng tawag, libreng internet, and even libreng charging by making use of the gensets from our base stations. And lastly, once all that is actually being implemented, we are gathering almost our 6,000 strong employees nationwide so that we can actually raise funds. Because during these times, most people will feel restless, they want to do something. So we give them that opportunity either to volunteer. No? We have a partnership with DSWD and ROC. So we call on our employees and even subscribers to join us in our repacking efforts. And lastly, by sharing their treasure, we've managed to, for example, during Ondoy, we've managed to raise almost 1 million pesos in just 3 days through GCash. So those are the very concrete items that Globe Bridging Communities is doing to help during disasters.
Okay, thank you, Bong. As you've heard, we've heard about initiatives from the private sector and from OCD, which represents government. Now we'd like to hear from Mahar, who's also with UP, and of course Project NOAA. Mahar, could you tell us what Project NOAA is all about?
Yes. Hello. Project NOAA stands for the Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazards. Well, while I'm giving the introduction, can we play the video?
Yeah, this is a short.
NOAA is really the latest government initiative. It's the flagship program of the Department of Science and Technology to address our disaster woes. But before I continue, I'd like you to watch this. It's a cut from YouTube. I stole it from YouTube, actually. But, we have lessons to learn from this video. That guy in brown is a little bit relaxed. Okay, I guess we can cut that. Sorry if it's a little bit disturbing. But
What happened after?
I wanted to get the message across.
Mahar, what happened?
There are lessons to be learned from that video. Number one is that maraming skandaloso dito sa part na to, mga sumisigaw. But seriously, there are lessons to be learned from that video. The first is that a flash flood can happen in just a matter of seconds, probably 30 seconds if you timed it, and it can kill. The second lesson is that the flood doesn't have to be above your head in order for it to kill. And the third lesson, had those 5 people known 1 and 2, they would have been able to rush towards the riverbanks and save themselves. And I think that embodies what Project NOAA is all about. Trying to deliver the critical, the valuable, the important, and most importantly, timely information delivered to the people. That information is very important for us to save ourselves from the impacts of natural disasters. And that information should be derived from research, should be derived from science and the best available technology information that we could use, or knowledge that we could use as power to save ourselves. And I think that is what, in a nutshell, Project NOAA is all about. NOAA, as I think I've said it a while ago, stands for the Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazards. You'll see the word there, operational, and that basically means that we're doing a lot of research. We're trying to find the best technologies that are available. There are about 150 research scientists working now for Project NOAA. One of them is here. His name is Barack Obama, the son of Sexy Mom. You know? And he's one of the star players, the research assistants of Project NOAA. I think he's the main player or main contributor for Climate X, which you always see.
We can ask
let's
him
let's
to
give him a
stand
big
up.
hand. Please stand up, BA. Okay. So we're trying to collect or to do all of the research, do the science, and put that learning into operation. So we're trying to operationalize it. In the line agencies, normally there's research, but it's not really that full-blown. Unlike in the academe, wherein our business really is to do research. So we're trying to gather all that learning from the engineering side, from the science side, even the social sciences. We need to understand how people behave whenever there are disasters. And we need to understand how to communicate. So it's not only science that we're looking at, the research and developments that we're looking at in that field of disasters, but also we're trying to understand everything. Because no amount of science and technology will help us from the impacts of natural disasters if we don't understand the psyche of the people. If the people don't listen, as what is happening now, here we're all listening, but go outside and then ask 10 people, you'll find that 8 out of 10 don't know about what we are doing. No matter what we do, we still aren't able to communicate. And we thank media for disseminating that information. We thank Rappler for everything that you're doing to disseminate that information and helping government out, helping NDRMC, helping Malacanang, and helping all government agencies that deal with disasters to get that knowledge out. And we want to pull everything. We want to use everything so that we can disseminate, including teaching everything that we've learned about disasters over the past decades and teach that in the elementary and high school. I think math and science is good or is easily taught if you give disaster examples, because they can actually relate to the problem. And we want really Project NOAA information, which is actually the latest government initiative for disasters by government, to get that learning at an early age. So we want really to include that in the K-12 curriculum. In Project NOAA, we develop a lot of things. I'm not sure if you know already about the Project NOAA mobile app. It was discussed. A fisherman actually was the person who coded the mobile app of Project NOAA. and I have it, but this one is for iOS, so it's not
So is
not
this
the
a demo?
fisherman. It was ABS-CBN. There are a lot of technologies that we bring out. One is Project NOAA. We're actually getting all of the information, all of the data from Pag-asa, and we're trying to repackage it so that the people can learn about what the Pag-asa people are saying. Actually, this is freedom of information working for you already, and it's been working for you already since last year, even before the bill has been passed, because we're bringing out public information, government information that is the concern of the public, information that is critical and timely. So it's actually the freedom of information already working for you. It's your taxpayers' money, and everybody has the need for this, and everybody can make use of such information. Information that when it's necessary, when I say necessary, it's at a time when people need it, and these are times like disaster events. And when you need it, when the government does not reach you in terms of the warnings that they give, you still have a basis for making good decisions. And you have the right to get access to this information, whether you are rich or poor. And that is what Project NOAA is actually bringing you, those government data that concerns you, that concerns the health, the safety, and the well-being of people. And that is what we are doing. That's Project NOAA.
Okay. Thank you, Mahar. I think it's very exciting these days that we're seeing how scientists, because in the past you'd always have academics and scientists. You picture them in an ivory tower. But then now you see that the information and the research that they've managed to put together is something that's very relevant, especially during times of disaster. Pag-asa has never been more relevant than today. And NOAA and MMDA, for example, because of the valuable information that they've been giving out to us. So I'm sure that people in the audience would have more questions about NOAA and whether they could be a part of it more, but maybe more on that later. Let's move on to Lipayan of World Food Program. Please tell us, what is an international agency like WFP, which is focused on hunger? What are you doing about disaster?
Magandang hapon. I'm sure many of you know what WFP stands for, World Food Program. So we are talking about food primarily, but food does not always mean physically carrying food. What WFP globally does, we try to enhance the resilience of the most vulnerable communities who are either affected by a natural disaster or affected by chronic hunger or affected by conflict anywhere in the world. You would see WFP is there as one of the first responders from the international community side. We are world's largest humanitarian organization. So we have to be always prepared to be able to respond, and to be able to respond in a timely manner by reaching to the most vulnerable areas where the neediest people would be needing our service. So if we look at what WFP does, we try to work with communities even before a disaster, during a normal time, because what we believe strongly is that if we can enable communities to be better prepared, communities in barangays, communities in municipality level who are the stakeholders and the government and NGOs, academic institutions, if we can work with all of them together and make these communities better prepared for any eventualities, I think we are mitigating the risks, we are minimizing the risks. So that is one thing we are doing increasingly globally, and most importantly in the Philippines, what we call disaster preparedness and response capacity building. We are responding to disasters, be it conflict in central Mindanao or Zamboanga, be it natural disasters like Sendong, Washi, or Bofa, or Ondoy Peping in 2009. We are trying to mitigate hunger, the immediate short-term hunger, by providing direct food assistance or also working with telecom companies like Globe to immediately send cash through mobile phones to the communities who would be needing possibly money to buy food from the market if the market is functioning. So we are also looking at innovative ways of reaching out. We are trying to use more and more social media so that we can pass on the information of what WFP can do and to also understand where the neediest people are. So we are trying to harness the social media, the power of social media, and we have very recently entered into a partnership with the Rappler and DSWD to further work on sensitizing the community on hunger and how by developing microsite and the use of crowdsourcing, we can create a critical mass of volunteers and others who would be joining hands together to also create a positive pressure on the government to think more in terms of sustainable solutions for hunger and food insecurity. So WFP is working on preparedness side, working on response side, and also working on post-emergency phase where we are talking more about recovery and rehabilitation and rebuilding communities. We are also working on those aspects globally, supporting almost 100 million people, which is like feeding the entire country of Philippines in about 75 countries. And in the Philippines, we're fortunate to have really excellent partnership with NGO community, with academic institutions, bringing scientific innovations to the communities, and also with the communities, of course. The people are the most important part of our work. We try to ensure that we always give them the connect by linking all the key players with the people so that they would be always served in a relevant manner, efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipayan. Rappler actually is launching a hunger project within the next few weeks. And we have found, and we're working with WFP, and we have found that there's a very, very close correlation between disaster and hunger. Whenever a disaster strikes an area, soon after, hunger would be the next problem. And the responders who come and address these hunger issues at soon as possible time are really, really very critical. But before we go into a longer discussion on that, let me introduce Celso, who will talk to us about Weather Philippines Foundation.
Thank you, Chai. I think it's very appropriate that I spoke right after WFP, because we are WPF, so we're the Weather Philippines Foundation. We are essentially a non-profit foundation which aims to help in disaster risk reduction. We are a CSR project of the Aboitiz Group through Aboitiz Power and Union Bank. And we have also a technology partner from Switzerland, which brings the meteorological science into play, which is Meteo Media. And to further introduce us, we have a short video, which please kindly watch, and I will answer your questions later. Thank you.
Okay, let's watch.
please use weather.com.ph. We're a complementary effort to already fantastic technologies being done by government today. Thank you.
Thank you. I think what we're seeing here, the gentleman and the lady that you have in front of you, illustrate the importance of partnership and collaboration. In the past years, we've always been writing and reporting on disasters, and we find that the problems are recurring, and we're not really solving the problem. And we realized, and at Rappler, when we were discussing this, we saw that there was an intrinsic difficulty. One is there's a lot of duplication. NGOs are doing what other NGOs are doing. There is no coordination between government and the private sector. Even the private sector is duplicating what NGOs are doing. So we thought that maybe it's about time that we brought all these groups together and work on each other's strengths. Now they are here because they also are I guess, opening up their services and making us aware of what they're doing and welcoming volunteers. Are there specific areas in your fields where you think you would need help from the public out there, which maybe other people are not too well aware of? Yes, Jane?
We'd like to invite our young minds. Yung mga hackathons, usually the hackathons now are for advanced applications. But as I said earlier, kasi let's also go back to the old, because it's a reality that in the far-flung areas where the last mile hasn't been reached yet, people are still using, legacy phones. So. Legacy phones, 2G, simple SMS, call. These are the basic services that they are availing of. So, what about a 2G hackathon, for applications for disaster preparedness and response? That will be a challenge to the more advanced minds now. Let's step back a little, because even in Southern Leyte, for example, we're using the Batingao as an early warning device still. Because if you have to go down to the last sitio and it cannot be reached because of topographical and geographical limitations, they'll just have to make do with that kind of an early warning system. So that's a challenge we invite them also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other from the panel?
As one of the front runners in terms of emergency response and emergency preparedness, I think what we would be looking forward to, especially in a country like Philippines, where the awareness of use of IT for the benefit of the people is very high, is to create a network through which we would be able to get all the information in a timely manner, so that we would be able to respond to the neediest people much more effectively. So I hope that your innovative ideas, we would, through a forum or through a network, we would be able to access, and you all, through your own network, by activating your own network individually and as groups, would be able to get information from all the grassroots levels for us to be able to reach out to those hardest hit areas at times of disasters more effectively.
Okay, Mahar, you wanted to show something?
Yeah. Hello? Yeah. There are 4 pillars in the efforts to address our disaster problems. Probably you can come near here so that I can show this. The first is prevention. The second is preparedness and mitigation. The third is response. And the fourth is rehabilitation. NDRRMC deals with the response and rehabilitation. The task of Project NOAA is really to do the prevention part, which is actually long-term education and getting the people to know what to do, not during the disaster event, but months or even years before. And we're also tasked to do a 6-hour early warning before the floods come into the low-lying communities. And here, we ask the cooperation of everybody because we are the one who are privileged to share such information because we have these Twitter accounts and we have good cell phones. We have this app called ARCO app. Do you see it? The ARCO app. We launched the NOAA app, now we have the ARCO app. And what you're seeing here is really our location now as located by the iPhone or by the GPS. And around that location, within 2.5 kilometers, is a circle. That's the radius. And within that circle is the flood map of the area, a situation or a scenario that happened during Ondoy. So the message here really is to know the hazards in your community. And in your community, if the people don't know about it, maybe you can share it in your community so each individual would know what the hazards are in your place or in your neighborhood. So if we can disseminate that information, share that information to your community, to your friends, to your neighbors, that would be very good. We would like that.
Sorry, is
Thank
that
you.
ARCO?
ARCO spelled
AR
A-R-K-O.
ARKO
Yes.
app. So you can download that
That's right.
and then
We
share.
actually want to do this for the entire Philippines. Right now, it's the Ondoy scenario. But once we get the supercomputer, wherein we'll have the 3 hourly forecasts for 7 days, we would like to do a flood forecast for the following day. So we'll give you the scenario of flood, whether it's a 5-year rain return flood, or a 10-year rain return flood, or a 50 or a 100-year rain return flood. It's like Foursquare, but instead of giving you information about the good restaurants in your neighborhood, we will share you notifications or give you notifications that there's going to be flooding the following day. So that's the ARCO app. So by next year, we'll be doing that. And if you can share that information, please.
All right, we'll be watching out for that. I think there's time for one question from the floor. Anyone? Yes, please.
Good afternoon. This is Chris from Valenzuela. Let me ask a question with regards to the impact of disasters in the event of the so-called the big one. Of course, we're not praying for that big one to come or visit the Philippines, but should this phenomenon occurs, since the adoption of the Republic Act 10121 in 2011 or 2010, how is our LGU today? Are we ready for that?
To whom is your question addressed to
everybody.
specifically?
Particularly the OCD, of course, Colonel Lagman.
Okay, Colonel Sadang.
Now I know why Undersecretary Del Rosario is not here. Sabi ko na nga ba, no. Honestly
sir,
speaking,
sagutin mo.
the OCD is doing some activities right now. We are to inform these LGUs down the line up to the barangay level. We have completed the national summit. The output of that is a national disaster management plan. We already completed 11 regions dun sa regional summit namin. Also, from the strategic plan down to the operational plan, these are the outputs ng regional summit. And hopefully by next year, we will be cascading all these plans down to barangay level. Next year is the provincial summit, city and municipality. Hopefully, with these summits, actually this is a 3-day affair. Pinag-aaralan po lahat doon yung mga dapat gawin ng isang LGUs, their respective roles and responsibilities. It is a conglomeration of the different department ng ating gobyerno na turuan ang mga LGUs, especially mga LCEs, para malaman nila kung anong dapat gawin in the 4 thematic areas of disaster management.
Excuse
Colonel-
me, sir. I'm sorry. We're a bit pressed for time.
No, this is
There will
the
be
follow-up.
a presentation later on by Governor Salceda, and he can elaborate about LGUs. I'm sorry. I just have to moderate this because otherwise we will be here until the evening. Okay. Thank you very much to our panel members. I think, as I said earlier, we're seeing collaboration and partnership between the private sector, NGOs, even academe, government, and hopefully more increasingly LGUs, and of course, the media. So we move on to the next portion of our session this afternoon. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies.